Enjoying the podcast? Well, then you just might love the book. City of Nightmares. 500 haunts, killers, and cryptids from across the USA. Uncover America's darkest secrets, one nightmare at a time. From the restless spirits of haunted mansions to the chilling legends of cryptids lurking in the shadows, City of Nightmares is your ultimate guide to 500 spine-tingling locations across all 50 states. Whether you're a seasoned ghost hunter, a true crime aficionado, or simply a thrill seeker in search of your next adventure, this book has everything you need to dive into the eerie unknown. City of Nightmares, now available on Amazon in paperback, hardcover, and Kindle. Get your copy today.
Listener discretion is advised. This episode features the true account of a serial killer. For those of you who may be triggered by disturbing topics, please skip this episode. Beneath the crumbling concrete and flickering street lamps of Flint, Michigan, a predator once hunted. By day, he blended into the fractured shell of a struggling city. By night, he prowled, armed with a knife and fueled by a singular, horrifying urge. His victims never saw him coming. And by the time authorities realized what was happening, the stabber had already vanished, leaving bloodied sidewalks and grieving families behind. I'm your host, Dan David. Welcome to City of Nightmares. Flint sits in eastern Michigan, 70 miles northwest of Detroit. Though today it's often associated with tragedy, this city was once a symbol of American industry and innovation. In 1908, General Motors was founded here, and for much of the 20th century, Flint boomed alongside the rise of the automobile. Workers flocked to the city for good wages, strong unions, and the promise of a stable middle-class life. But as quickly as it rose, Flint began to fall. Globalization, automation, and corporate downsizing sent shockwaves through its economy. GM plants closed. Thousands lost their jobs. The city's population plummeted from nearly 200,000 in 1960 to under 100,000 today. With fewer jobs came more crime, deteriorating infrastructure, and a slow decay that infected every corner of public life. In the 2000s, Flint's problems became national headlines. Its murder rate soared. Poverty hit nearly 40%. Abandoned houses lined the streets, and entire neighborhoods became husks. Then came the water crisis, lead poisoning, government failure, and widespread distrust. But long before that scandal broke, Flint endured another trauma. Between the summer of 2009 and the fall of 2010, a wave of terrifying stabbings haunted the city. The attacks were vicious, often random, and overwhelmingly targeted one group: black men. Many were homeless or living in unstable conditions. The killer would strike suddenly, then disappear. He didn't rob. He didn't speak. He stabbed, fast and without hesitation, often using brutal force. Those who survived remembered the same thing. A man in a light-colored SUV pulling up under the pretense of needing help or asking for directions. The moment they approached the car, he lunged. At least 14 stabbings occurred in the Flint area alone. Police weren't sure if they were dealing with a spree killer, a serial predator, or something else entirely. The randomness of the attacks made them difficult to predict, and even harder to stop. The earliest known survivor was 26-year-old Antoine Jackson, who was stabbed on May 24, 2010, near Saginaw Street. He lived, and later testified in court. Just over 2 weeks later, 43-year-old Darwin Marshall was found dead on June 8th. His body was discovered on Carpenter Road with multiple stab wounds. On June 21st, 60-year-old Emmanuel Mays was killed in similar fashion on Flint's north side. Several other victims survived and gave statements to police, helping investigators begin to link the attacks. While many of their names were never made public, the consistency in their accounts played a key role in shaping the investigation and eventually securing a conviction. By July 2010, Flint police formed a special task force. They released a composite sketch based on multiple survivor accounts. It showed a white male, late 20s to mid-30s, with a stocky build and short dark hair. Media outlets began calling him the serial stabber. Residents were warned not to approach vehicles that flagged them down. Flint's shelters and community centers, particularly those serving unhoused men, began posting flyers and offering safety briefings. Some even altered their intake hours to minimize time spent outdoors after dark. But just as the task force was starting to close in, the attack stopped in Michigan. On July 27th, a man in Toledo, Ohio, was stabbed in a parking lot. Same profile, same vehicle. Then, on August 6th, another man was attacked in Leesburg, Virginia. A pattern was emerging. The killer had left Michigan, but he hadn't stopped. The FBI joined the case. They linked the crimes based on witness descriptions, knife wound patterns, and behavior. They were dealing with a mobile killer, and his travels were only making him harder to catch. Then, on August 4th in Arlington, Virginia, police pulled over a man named Elias Abuelazam for a traffic violation. They noted bloodstains on his clothing and a knife in the car. At the time, they didn't have the warrant or probable cause to detain him, so they let him go. By August 9th, Abuelazam was officially identified as the prime suspect. He had ties to Flint, having worked at a party store on the city's south side, and matched the composite sketch almost exactly. Authorities learned he had booked a one-way ticket to Tel Aviv. On August 11th, federal agents arrested him at the gate in Atlanta's Hartsfield-Jackson Airport just minutes before he could board. Inside his luggage, another knife. Abuelazam was extradited to Michigan and charged with the murder of Arnold Miner, one of the 5 confirmed fatal victims. The evidence against him was overwhelming. Witness IDs, forensic DNA from multiple scenes, and even internet search history on how to leave the country without a passport. The prosecution alleged that Abuelazam specifically targeted black men, most of whom were poor or unhoused. They argued that his attacks were motivated by racial hatred. Several of the surviving victims testified during the trial, one in a wheelchair, another with permanent lung damage from a collapsed lung caused by a stab wound. The defense tried to build a case around mental illness. They claimed Abuelazam suffered from paranoid delusions and auditory hallucinations, but psychiatric evaluations ordered by the court found him competent to stand trial. In 2012, a jury found Elias Abuelazam guilty of first-degree murder. He was sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. He is currently incarcerated at Bellamy Creek Correctional Facility in Ionia, Michigan. He filed several appeals between 2013 and 2015, all of which were denied. In interviews conducted after his conviction, investigators stated that Abuelazam never showed remorse and refused to take responsibility for the attacks. Today, the scars remain. While the national media has largely forgotten the case, Flint has not. Community members still cite that summer as one of the most terrifying periods in the city's recent memory. For many, What made it so chilling wasn't just the brutality of the crimes, but the way Abuela Zam weaponized trust. He exploited kindness. He turned helpfulness into a death sentence. Flint, already reeling from decades of neglect, poverty, and violence, was left with one more trauma to endure. And though justice was served, it came too late for 5 families, and far too close for dozens more. Thank you for listening. If you're new to the show, don't forget to check out previous episodes covering haunted places, notorious killers, and real-life horrors across America. Next time, we're heading southwest to the sun-scorched deserts of Arizona, a place where legend and horror collide. Join me in Kingman, Arizona, as we descend into the blood-soaked lore of Slaughterhouse Canyon. Until then, I'm your host, Dan David, reminding you all to stay safe out there. I'll be seeing you in the next episode.
Nope.